yamsketch.
All right, so let's draw grass and a bear. So because we haven't dealt with color, let me just show you a cool thing that we can do with color. So let's grab green, and grass is not like that color of green. It's, you know, it's more like yellowy. So let's just grab like a yellow green. So that's already kind of okay. I think we can go a little bit darker than that, right? All right, so that's okay. But, you know, some grass dies and it gets like dry, and then some gets like the sprinkler, so it gets like nice and green and stuff. So variety of color is really nice. So the cool thing to do with the grass or a fur brush, because fur is the same, right? And hair is the same, and they're not all the same, they're a little bit different, is that you can add variance to the brush. So if we go into the brush settings and we turn on color dynamics, then you can see that there's a lot of cool stuff we can do. So if we want to just be lazy about it, just turn the hue jitter up. Just turn all of these up to like a little bit, all right? And then what it's gonna do is it's going to give us variety of color. And that's already rad, right? That's already totally cool. So the hue changes like what you might think of as the color, like is it blue, is it red? The saturation changes how bright the color is. And then that sounds dumb because the brightness is here. So the brightness obviously adjusts the brightness. But what I mean is the saturation adjusts the appearance of how bright the color is, how rich it is, whereas the brightness adjusts the actual hue, the dark to light value, the contrast. So I actually we could turn that up a little bit more too. So I like where this is, so we'll just leave it like that. You could save that as another brush preset if you wanted to. I think I'll just go with it as it is. So first of all, grass. It's hard to see grass without a background, so let's make like a blue sky. What do you think? Let's make like a pale blue sky. All right, now we'll make our grass. So again, what I like to do when I'm making grass is, well, here, let's erase all this stuff because it's flying away. Okay, cool. All right, so what I like to do when I'm drawing grass is start with layers from the background and then move into the foreground. So what I'm going to do is, remember, left to right makes them face up, and that's what I want. So mostly I'm going to do that. But the really small ones, so I'm going to start at like this, yeah, maybe like that. This tiny little, kind of looks like crow's feet, like bird's feet too. That might be a cool thing to do with this. So I'm going to draw kind of the horizon line of whatever, these grassy knolls. There we go. I'm going to draw that with this tiny brush. And then remember, again, this is really cool. Because we set it to initial direction, I can just, without letting up, I can just scrubble around, and I don't have to worry about the direction that I'm going anymore. I set that by the first time I touch the pen to the thing. So that's a really easy way to do it. Okay, so now that we have like a horizon line with some variety and some grass and stuff, as we get closer, so progressively from here to here to here to here, as we get closer towards our view, obviously we get closer to the brush. I mean, closer to the grass. So if we make the brush larger, again, it's the same brush, nothing's changed. I'm just making it larger. And I'm not covering everything. I'm just kind of doing that next layer. Okay. So I just move closer, I make them bigger. I move closer, I make them bigger. Okay. So now that's cool, and you can already see that it's creating the effect that we want. But the other thing is that, you know, if you actually are interested in painting and drawing things like landscapes, you'll know that there's atmospheric perspective. So as you go further away, these layers that are farther away from you actually get, they move towards the color of the sky, right? And there's a couple of ways to do that. I mean, we can just change our color. So as we're going further away, it should be, you know, bluer and also brighter. So, you know, it should be in there at the back of the grass. And then as we get closer, it can get to this richer color, right? So that's a cool way that you can do that. So actually, you know, let's actually do that. I'm gonna knock I'm gonna cheat. Check it out. I'm gonna knock this towards blue hue, less saturated and brighter, right? So wait, even more blue. Yes, yes. So this is gonna be that far away stuff. And then we're gonna come here with our yellowier stuff. There we go. And we'll just redraw that, which, you know, why not? Cool. So now we have kind of that background. Now we have like a foreground. Cool. Okay, and then now let's go a little bit bigger, and then we'll get even richer and yellowier. All right, so now you can see what I'm talking about. So as you're fading into the distance, it gets smaller. It also gets bluer because the sky's blue. If the sky was red, it would get redder, and so on. And the cool thing about this is that, you know, I'm just doing this in 3 layers and it already looks pretty decent and looks like I spent some time on it, even though this is just one brush. If you want to be cool and convincing about this, you would do this in smaller steps with more increments of color and with multiple brushes. Remember, we also got Furby, the Furby brush, which we can do the same thing with. So with the Furby brush in this immediate foreground, I don't want to go too yellow, so I'm just going to go brighter and green. So that color is fine. Brighter green. There we go. And then with the Furby brush too, remember, we didn't do this with the Furby brush. We'll turn the color dynamics on, and then we'll just do the same thing. We'll just punch all these guys. Cool. All right. And then let's turn this guy up. Cool, I like it. So I want like a super pretty freaking bright. Let's just go dark instead of bright. I want something in the foreground that we can see. So let's go bigger. There, now we're starting to get somewhere. Okay, so now you can see if I actually vary the actual brush that I'm using, and, you know, again, if I had mixed this brush in earlier with these other ones, especially, then you could actually see that I'm getting, you know, a lot more variety. And this effect of grass is going to become a lot more convincing. So another thing that you can do is you can just, once you get to a certain point in all this variety, you can just color pick. And that makes it super fast. So I'm just going to throw some brushes in here that are with the Furby brush, which is different than the brush we used here before, right? And then I'm going to throw some of this brush here. You can actually see it. Okay, and then I'm going to throw some of this brush here. You can see some of that on that horizon. There we go. And I can size it down and do all these cool things with it. So the cool thing about this is that, you know, if you want something that looks totally realistic, you could actually achieve that. It's just a matter of spending more time on it, building things up in smaller increments, like multiple layers. And I don't mean layers in Photoshop. This is one layer, look. I mean layers of you drawing, right? And then thinking about, you know, how color changes. But we do have kind of a pretty cool landscape here already, and that didn't take too much time, right? So let's just finish this up because we didn't draw a bear, and I think I promised that. So here's the extra credit assignment. You get a bear. So let's get the pocket pen we created a while back, and let's draw a little bear sketch. So let's get, I don't know, it'll be a brown bear. So here's a bear off in the grass. Don't ask me what he's doing out there because I don't know. I'm figuring it out too. And he's got to be like, huh? All right, so here's our here's our bear. It's got to almost be like we caught him. Like he's like, what? You know, what? I don't know. Okay, so here's our bear. And there. Okay, so he's like a cross between a bear and a gopher. I don't know. And maybe he's holding something. What's he holding? I don't know. I wish I had a live stream with comments right now. This is where I don't know what this bear is holding. He's holding he's a Pooh Bear. He's holding a jar of honey. So, all right. So here's his honey jar. Okay, great. And then let's give him some. Okay, so he's going to be fading off into the grass. So I'm not going to worry too much about where his legs are. Okay, so we got this pretty funny looking bear. And then, so the point here is that I'm gonna use the feather brushes or the fur brushes or whatever you want to call them to fill him in. So first things first, I am just going to make a layer under our bear to give him a base color, just so that I can see his shape here. So there's a lot of ways to do this, and I'm going to have a series on flatting and on a number of other things, but about coloring, and especially coloring artwork and comic coloring and stuff like that. But I'm going to start with just a real basic thing, which is I'm going to get a base color, and I'm going to fill behind this drawing. And I'm not doing this in any particularly fancy way. We'll go over proper flatting later. This is a sketch of a bear in grass, so don't bug me about the proper stuff for this one, please. We'll get to it. But anyway, so I'm just giving him colors, and that is important. Remember, we're gonna go over this with the fur brush. I want it to look like he's blended in the grass, so I'm not too worried about that. Okay, so for this, what I want to do is just get the basic stuff. So I have a bear and he's got a jar of honey. That's the only stuff I care about. Okay, and bear in a jar of honey, done. Now, first thing I want to do is make it look like he's blended into the grass. So I'm going to grab one of our brushes. Let's grab the Furby. And I'm going to change this brush thing from brush over to normal to clear. And that makes it an eraser. And guess what? There's already grass under him. So when I erase him, he's in the grass. Oh, so that's another thing you can do with these brushes. Super easy to use them as mask brushes by just switching them to clear. I love doing that. So we're gonna grab, go back to normal here. And then we're gonna think about kind of what color we want his hair to be. I'm gonna start with darker hair. So like dark reddish brown bear hair. That's what we're gonna start with. And then what I want to do is first I want to give him some texture, and I'll show you an easy way to do that. Just lock this layer, lock the transparency on it. Okay, we're not going to do like the fine outer hairs yet. We're just going to give him some texture. So I'm just going to turn this up, and I'm going to give him, well, that's way too big. Let's go. Yeah, good. All right. So I am going to do, because I want some color variety too, I'm going to put that color dynamic stuff on like I did before. All right, and then bam. So yeah, we're going to get in here and just remember your initial stroke is what picks the, what am I trying to say? The initial stroke is what picks the direction of the fur. So kind of loosely try to go in the direction that he's going. But this is just for some basic texture. So, all right, so he's got some basic texture on him now. So now I can kind of size down here, and I'm going to actually zoom in so we can see our bear. There we go, there's our bear. And then I'm going to actually think about this the same way that I think about shadows. So we're outside, let's say the light's coming from the top. He's going to have shadows under his arm and stuff. And I can draw these shadows with the fur. So if I go from, draw in the direction initially that I want the fur to face, I can make it point the direction that I want the fur to point, which is cool. So I can actually do that. Pretty rad. All right, so let's do this, let's do that. All right, so we got some bear hair. Just making bear hair. Just making a hairy bear. Okay. And you can spend as much time on this as you like. I'm spending a minimum amount of time putting hair on this bear. So I'm going to unlock the transparency so we have something to work with here. And now I'm going to size down a little bit. So yeah, so how thin of a hair do we want? It looks good. Looks great. And then remember, the flow being at 25 is why it's looking so wispy. If I don't want that, I could turn it all the way up and have like, whoa, bear hair, right? So I'm going to go somewhere in the middle. And now, again, the initial direction is what determines the direction that the hair is drawn. So here we go. And it is, oh, and my line work's kind of covering this. So let's just let us merge that down so I can draw on top of it. Okay. So I'm doing dark hair first, and then I'm going to do the light hair on top of the dark hair. Just because the dark hair will it'll get it kind of meatiness. It'll get it meaty where it needs to be, and then the light hair will be like the highlights of the light hitting it and so on. All right. So you can see, because I can go quite small, I can get actually as much detail in this as I want to. So, there we go. Okay. So we got a fuzzy, hairy bear. Yes. Fur bear. That looks rad. Okay, perfect. So now I'm gonna grab kind of a yellowier, brighter hair and then dot that on top. So I need water. Hold on a minute. So if I kind of dot this hair on here, and maybe even turn the flow down so it's not as strong. Okay. Yes. That is one furry bear. Yeah. Yes. Love it. Love it. Hairy, furry bear. Got it. In the grass. Okay. I feel like there's a story here, but I'm not going to be the one that tells it. I might be the one who tells it. All right. So you can see that we could go on with this as much as you want. And the more that you zoom in and the more time that you spend varying the color. In fact, I can, let's do something crazy. Let's put some purple into the shadows, right? Because it's a fur brush, like you can get away with a lot of stuff if you do it lightly. Although, that doesn't look too great. I got to be a little bit more subtle with it, but you can blend in a lot of different colors to get the effect that you want. So that's a couple of ways that you could use a fur brush. I'm just going to come back over the top here with an actual ink brush, just because I want to highlight a few features, and because I kind of have more of a comic drawy style anyway. But other than that, you can see that it's a brush that you could use for a ton of stuff. And I'm sure you guys can come up with a lot of cool things that this could be used for besides just bear fur and grass. And if you do, let me know about it in the comments. I'll put these brushes up so you can get them for free, but We also did go over how to make them, so I hope that you make some of your own and try it out. It really is fun once you get into it, because there's just unlimited variety. And even though you might make a brush that looks similar to another brush, when you use them, what you'll notice is they don't just look different. Like when you finish a drawing, they actually feel different too when you draw with them. So it is worth experimenting with making these yourself, because you get a feel for what you like. And the thing is, like, even if a brush is cool, that doesn't mean you're gonna like it. It's just like, you know, a brush in real life. You might pick it up and just not like it. Like, some people are into Tombos. I'm into Tombos. Not everyone's into Tombos. Some people like Zebra. Some people like Pilot. Whatever, right? Or some people like Copic pens. Actually, a lot of people like Copic pens because they're rad. But you know, you gotta find the thing that works for you, and that doesn't change just because it's digital. So there we go. I'm enjoying myself a little bit too much here. So there we are, a bear in the grass, made with the fur brushes, the Furby and the Mach 3. In this case, I'll put those up. Like I said, thanks for staying with me this long. And I hope you have fun with these post links to anything you guys draw. Let's make this a cool thing. All right, I'll see you guys later. Bye for now.
Yamsketch.